everyone, welcome back. This is part 2 of making this travel journal. I am going to sew the signatures in. So this is for maybe some of y'all that are new, and thought I would do a quick little video on sewing in a signature. And if you're new, this is a great way to get started with just using one signature, just to get you used to sewing a signature into a journal cover. So when you have just one signature, you really don't have to worry about a template or anything like that. You can just make your holes and then just make sure you line those holes up before you poke the holes into the cover. So let's get started here. I really just like to use what's called an awl, I think. Awl, I always say it wrong. Someone will correct me, I'm sure. And then I like to use a book. And this is super old. It was my dad's, so that's kind of cool to have a little bit of sentiment to it, sentimentality. The other thing that I like to use is these big, huge gold paper clips. And I like them because they go pretty far down. So if you have smaller pieces of paper in your journal, you're more likely to get them secured with the paper clips. And they don't get moved around or shuffled. And I like to just take an old book and create this little V shape with the book, and that helps to make sure my holes kind of go straight through the spine, and that way I don't have my holes going off center. It helps anyway. Sometimes it still does. So I am going to do a 3-hole pamphlet stitch, and I'm just going to do one in the middle and one near the bottom and one near the top. And you can see, hopefully on camera, there's the 3 holes right there, and they're lined up pretty nicely. And so you see how quickly that is. If you were doing more than one signature, what I would do next is I would take my next signature, and then with a pencil, I would lay my next signature down and then put this on top of it. And then just with a little pencil, I would mark on the center page of the other signature where the holes are, and that helps make sure that the holes are all the same. So that's a little workaround if you don't want to do a template. But you can also do a template as well, just to keep things a little more certain and uniform. So now what I want to do is I need to poke the holes in my cover, and I am going to use a pencil for this. And what I do is I have my holes right here, so I'm just going to mark a little pencil on top. Let's see, first off, you want to make sure you're putting it in correctly. So this is the top actually. So I'm going to put a little pencil mark here and here and here, so that I know, looking from the top, and it's hard to see on this print, but I have a pencil mark right there. You'll have to trust me on this. And then you'll want to center your signature so that it's equispaced from the top and the bottom of the journal, because you don't want it like this, or if you don't put this in correctly, then your holes would be misaligned, and when you go to sew it in, it could stick out the top or bottom. So you definitely don't want that. So I have it perfectly centered here. The other thing is you want to make sure you find the center of your cover, since this is one signature. So that looks pretty good right there. It's not going to stick out the front or the back. So that is good. So I am going to mark with a pencil here, and the other hole is right here, and then the last one is right here. And then I want to make sure I'm definitely in the center. So I'm going to fold this down, get a little bit of a crease there. You can see that. And so you can see my holes are not, or my pencil marks are not on the crease. But that's okay, because they're at the right height. Yep. So on this one, I don't need the putting it inside the book. So what I'm going to do is, since my pencil mark is right there, I'm just going to come over to the fold and then just press. And then I'll get my hole right there. And then again, I'm coming over to the fold, so I'm coming straight over from that pencil mark. And then pressing that right on the fold. And same with the last one. Come right over to the fold. Sorry if you can't see that, but it's really just straightforward. Like that. So then when I fold it, you have the little bitty holes right there on the spine. And I don't need that anymore, but I do need the needle. This is a, what's it called? Embroidery needle. And then let me show you the 3 pamphlet stitch. And I am going to erase these pencil marks as well. There we go. And erase the pencil marks on here, even though you can't really see them. And I have it right side up. Now I need thread. And I think I am just going to use a brown. So this is embroidery thread. And I find it very strong and very durable. I am going to use a brown here. And I go about 3 times the height of the journal. That's how I measure the length of the thread. 1, 2, 3. And this is usually a lot more than what you need. But it's better to have too much than not enough. Thread the needle and just leave a little extra here, and I start from the inside middle. And this is a 3-hole pamphlet stitch, and then you go through the middle of the journal, and then you want to make sure you leave a little bit of thread here so that when you tie it off, you have something to tie it off with. And then I go down to the bottom. I come through the bottom. And whenever the camera's on, I struggle to get the needle through to the center. So I'm sure that'll happen today. And then you want to make sure you pull this taut and then go up to the top. And you want to go through the center up top. And then come back down, or come through the top one on the cover. And then again, you want to pull it tight. You want it to be tight in here, and you want it to be tight out here. And then we finish off by coming back in. Sorry, I was off camera there. You finish off by coming back in through the middle. So you want to make sure that you do not sew through the thread. You don't want to split the thread that's already there, because that will I think can weaken the knot, or keep it from being as tight as it could be. And just take your time. And it looks like it's through, and I didn't split the thread, so I'm going to pull that through. Alright, so I have this right side up. Just double check before you start to tie anything. And this looks pretty tight on this side. If you wanted to add beads and things like that, you want to do that in between each stitch as you go through the hole. You put your beads or whatever you want on there. So I don't need the needle anymore. The next thing that you want to do is you want to take these two, and you want to have one of these underneath the middle thread on one side, and then the other one on the other side. And then before, again, you want to check, make sure this is tight. Actually, I want to make that a little bit tighter. And you want to make sure there's no gaps here. That looks good. And then you want to tie this. And you want to tie it tight. You don't want to pull too hard. You don't want to tear anything. But you want it to be very, very taut. See, that's good. And then I take these off, because I feel like I can then get a better double knot. And then you just want to make sure that everything, all the papers are sewn in. And then you want to tie it like that. And then I did one knot, and then I'm going to do another one. Pull it tight, and then I do one more for good measure. And that is how you sew a signature in. And when you're doing multiple signatures, you repeat the process. The only trick is just making sure you poke the holes in your cover correctly, because you have to repeat it and just move them apart. But I have different videos on doing multiple signatures, so you can check those out. So if you're new, I hope you find this video helpful. and I will see you all in the next video. Now I am gonna do some decorating, so that'll be the next one. So stick around, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to see the finished look of this. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye.